There are effectively 9 hooks available to us. I say effectively because one isn't really an Angular lifecycle hook, and others are only available in our components, not our directives. Let's take a look, but we're going to do this in waves. First, a quick overview of the 9, and then we'll dig in deeper. First up is the not really a hook, and that's the constructor. Like any other objects, the constructor fires when an instance of the class is created, and while it should be used to set up the object, it should also be very lightweight. The constructor only fires once per instance. Next up is onChanges. OnChanges fires once when an instance of the object is created, just after Angular sets data-bound input properties on the component or the directive, and then again whenever a bound input property changes. Next is onInit. This one fires only once, and it happens after the first onChanges. You've likely seen and used this one before. DoCheck comes next, and it's sort of the catch-all for things that may not get picked up by Angular's change detector. It gets called as a part of every change detection cycle. After content init is called after Angular has injected external content into the component's host view. This is also the first of our 4 hooks that are only available in components, simply because directives don't have a view. It's fired only once. The next hook is after content checked, and it's also a component-only hook. It fires after Angular has checked the external content injected into the component's host view. After view init is another pretty common hook, so you're likely familiar with it. It's another component-only hook which fires once, after Angular has initialized the host view and any child views of the component. Next, after view checked. This is the last of the 4 component-only hooks. It's called after Angular checks the host view and any child views. The last hook we can respond to happens only once, when Angular is just about to destroy our classed instance. There isn't a whole lot we can do here, and we can't stop the instance from being destroyed, but this is our last chance to do anything with the component. We're not going to take a look at it right now because it's pretty basic and pretty straightforward, but I did create a little playground widget you can use to explore the different events if you're interested. It's in a widget called Lifecycle Hooks. Here's what it looks like. On the left-hand side, it shows a running log of each hook that gets fired along with a timestamp. In the middle, it shows the name of each hook and the last time it was fired. At the top, there are a couple of opportunities to see how different changes call different hooks. There are buttons to change an input value passed in from a parent component, one to change a simple local variable, one to inject a template into a view container, and a div with a listener on it to trigger a bunch of mouse move events. One interesting thing to take note of is the addition of the onChanges hook when changing an input variable compared to just changing a local component variable. The bulk of the code in the Playground widget looks something like this. It simply uses a function which is recognized by Angular as the one to be called for each hook, and records the fact that the hook was fired. While not technically required, the easiest way to work with these hooks and get these specially named functions right is to have your class implement the interfaces supplied by Angular, like this. Each function name is simply lowercase ng followed by the name of the hook, as we can see here with ng onInit. Feel free to explore that demo widget if you're curious about which lifecycle hooks fire at which points in your code. We're going to move on to some additional information about working with the lifecycle hooks and their impact on performance.